Hi everyone, Kate here for another Victober video, and I hope you are having the best Victober. And I have a different kind of a video today, and I was thinking about if I could make a patchwork quilt, let's go with patchwork quilt of a Victorian novel where I took my favorite things from all these different Victorian novels and piled them together in one novel. What would my ideal Victorian novel look like? So I hope we will have some fun with this. And I have here, how many criteria? 15 criteria written out. And I will tell you about them. The first criteria that I think would make my ideal Victorian novel is if there was a female protagonist. I'll just be honest. I'm going to connect more with the book. And if it's written in first person, it's done so beautifully in Jane Eyre. And also David Copperfield, even though that's a male protagonist, something about the first person narrative just pulls you right into that book. The second one is if there was a warm and sentimental feel to it, like in David Copperfield, and also Anthony Trollope has a pretty warm and sentimental feel to his books. And I love that warmth, and just it makes you feel so safe and cozy when you're reading the book. The third criteria would be lots of delicious domestic details, like what handicraft they're working on, what the maids are doing around the house, gardening details, curling up in bed with a cup of tea and a book, the way the light filters into the sitting room in the evenings. And we do get this some from Elizabeth Gaskell and also from Charlotte Mary Young in what I've read of The Daisy Chain and The Heir of Redcliffe. I love knowing those things, and it makes the characters feel all the more tangible and real to me. And it makes the book so inviting. The fourth characteristic is having quirky side characters with funny lines, like in Dickens novels. I love that, to bring some light relief. And I think it would just make another perfect element to this ideal Victorian novel of mine. The next one is sweet little children with cute things that they say, like in The Heir of Redcliffe and also in Deerbrook. I love that, having just these sweet little children and getting to see their observations being so new to the world. Number 6 is a steadily building sense of foreboding, subtly hinted at throughout the book. Like The Woman in White, you have this atmosphere. You don't know entirely what's going to happen. You want to be kept a little bit anxious about the fate of the characters and exactly what's going to happen in the plot. Number 7, a clear sense of the seasons passing and holidays happening, including high church holidays like Harriet Martineau in Deerbrook. I love this kind of hearkening back to ancient church traditions. I find myself really appreciating that, attending a more liturgical service lately, knowing that for hundreds and thousands of years, people have been celebrating these same church holidays. And so getting to feel like I can relate to those characters even more, and also them celebrating Christmas and when May Day is celebrated, when Easter is celebrated, I love it. The next one is number 8, getting into the deep inner workings of the characters' hearts, like George Eliot does. I love how much I feel that I get to know her characters when I'm reading one of her books. I'm not left guessing about how her characters feel. Number 9, grand sweeping passages on the landscape that the character is surrounded by, like Thomas Hardy does. He writes it so beautifully. He does it so well, and I just soak up those passages when he writes them. Number 10, this is very specific, but cozy train travel passages and a visit to the Crystal Palace. So here's a picture of the Crystal Palace, and it was made for the Great Exhibition, and Albert, it was like his project that he was in charge of. It's such a shame the Crystal Palace burned down. I know there was talk a few years ago about making a full replica, and then people said, this is just too expensive, but it would have been so cool if they had made it. But I wish there were more Victorian novels where the Crystal Palace is featured. So I loved last year in The Fate of Jane Moore. One of the plot lines that we did was them traveling to the Crystal Palace. And number 11, a slow burning romance where the characters are clearly made for each other, like in North and South. If you have read North and South, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And Elizabeth Gaskell does it so very well. Number 12, I wanted to get right up to my pain threshold and make me feel things very deeply, and also make me question whether everything will in fact work out all right in the end. I like to kind of have that feeling so invested in the characters and just not knowing whether it will turn out all right because the story has been written so brilliantly, and I'm just left in such suspense until I finish the book. Number 13, if there are real books and music referenced. So then I can have an all-encompassing reading experience, because if they reference a certain piece of classical music, I can look it up and listen to that piece of music while I read the book. If they reference a certain book that actually exists, I can look up the book and read it and know more about the comments that the characters were making about that book. Or if I read the book and know, okay, that makes sense for their personality, that they would deeply connect with that piece of literature. And number 14, a 30-page epilogue with many details about the future lives of the characters. I feel like I am maybe in the minority for liking a good epilogue. I can't stand prologues. I just want to jump into the story. But then once it's done, sometimes, your couple who are romantically involved, they don't get together until the very end. And then you think, well, what were their lives together like? I wish I could see. I love a very lengthy epilogue, and it's not in nearly enough books. And I know some people complain about in the Return of the King movie that the epilogue is far too long, and I just love it. I'm like, a 45-minute epilogue? Yes, please. I want to see everyone happy and what they're doing. I'm nosy. I want to know about these characters. And the last characteristic, number 15, is the author addresses the reader like Anthony Trollope does. I love it when he breaks the fourth wall and he talks to the reader and tells you this part is going to be a little bit more boring, or this is what this chapter is going to be about. So these are basically all of the things that I love in my favorite bits of Victorian literature. And if I could, I would roll them all into one book, and it would be the ultimate, supreme, divine Victorian book. Let me know in the comments down below some elements that you would have in your ideal Victorian novel. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll be back with another video soon. Bye.